Okay guys, welcome to the opposed twin build. Some things to cover when building this thing. I do got the crankshaft polished, has been polished. I did get the AVS pistons and the billet rods. One thing that I wasn't informed of was that when ordering these two combos, or ordering the pistons in general, you want to order the smaller wrist pin. That I was not informed of, and so what I'm going to do, take these to work, and I'm going to mill about 185 thousandths off of each side because the center is thicker than the outer edges. So you don't want to just take it off on one side and then that puts your thickness on one side of the piston. You want it to be you want the thickest part to be right above the connecting rod. So I'm going to take it to work. I'm going to chuck it up in the lathe. We're going to cut off 185 thousandths off each side, make them work. Also, when you're running these rods, which I remember mentioning something about it in one of my previous videos about the CP mower, you will have to grind on the cam, because these are much thicker rods and they will hit. They generally hit either on the bolt, or it hits on the back side of the rod. So you really have to clearance the crud out of these, and I kind of got a little nervous grinding on it. The front side of the cam here, you really didn't have to grind too much, because the only thing you're making clearance for is the rod bolt and the very tip there. Now on the back side of the cam, different story. When the rod comes down, you've got to clearance it for this, and you got to take more meat off the back side of the camshaft, as you can see there, compared to here. And I was getting a little nervous because there's a hole in the center of that, and you don't want to hit the center of that hole, and you're screwed. You'll have to either find you a new cam or find some type of a sleeve to shove down in there, but I wouldn't know how well that would hold up. Probably best bet would be to find a new cam. That, or I think some people said they've actually used solid cams from the Splash opposed twins. I'm just going to go ahead and stick with the stock cam. Everybody's like, why are you going to be running billet rods, good pistons, and running a stock cam? Well, everybody we run against, they don't even have billet rods. They're just taking a stock opposed twin, dropping it on a mower, and going. And I just want to make sure that I'll be able to spin this one and the sucker stays together. But we'll run this one for a little bit, and if I want more power, I'll just call up Mike over at Precision Cam, and we'll make a deal, and we'll get a cam. We'll have that cam reground, and we'll go from there. But till then, I just need an engine to put together, because I've got an exhibition race coming up in less than 2 weeks when we run with the monster truck guys again. So I've got to get this engine built. I've already got the chassis tore apart and getting it cleaned up, getting some I need to reinforce the transmission plate. I'm doing that now. I've got a rear bumper I've got to weld on now, so I've got to get a new tire. So I've got to do a lot of crap in 2 weeks on top of build this engine. When building these engines, they tell you typically, okay, here's the springs. You've got the exhaust spring, you've got the intake spring. The intake spring has a little shim underneath it, and then they have these really crappy retainers. Since I'm going to be spinning this engine, well, about as fast as that stock cam will spin it, these are junk. You don't want them. What you want to run are on the exhaust side, you've got the rotating, I'm pretty sure that rotates, yeah, the retainers. What you want to do is find you a couple more sets, find you a junk engine that's got a couple more sets, which I believe I've got another engine out there somewhere, and you want to run these on the intake and the exhaust. But the problem is, see how that intake is? Let's compare here. See the difference? You'll have to actually chuck this up in here and leave just a little bit hanging down. Take your file, go up in there and grind away as much as you can. Now you're not wanting to grind in, you want to grind up. That way you raise that lip up to match the same height as this. Another thing that I came across, see on the intakes, the intakes are a thinner spring, a little roundness part's thinner than the exhaust, and the exhaust is obviously shorter. The reason why you want to run exhaust springs all the way around is that way you don't get valve float. What I'm going to do, we're going to obviously pitch that, and on the V-twin, they actually have on all 4 valves are almost identical to the exhaust on the opposed twin. Now the only difference that I can see is the height, but if I reuse the intake shim, it puts it at the exact same height. So I'm going to run 2 of the original exhaust springs, and then I'm going to run 2 of the V-twin intake valve springs. And what's nice is the keepers, or the retainer, fits directly on there. So I checked it with my mic, everything checks out exactly the same. The only thing difference is the height of the spring. So obviously before I put the engine completely together, I'm going to turn it over and make sure we don't have any coil bind with this spring. But if it all checks out good, that's how I'm going to run this engine. We'll see how that goes. This isn't something that I've read up. This is just something that I was tinkering with, that I came across. And I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we're going to try it. If it doesn't work, then I'll just order some more exhaust springs and we'll go that route, because I know that route works and that's the route everybody goes. So we got porting done. We got the cylinders honed out. They're still exactly dead on spec. I've got it pinged around the exhaust and went ahead and pinged around the intake. That way you don't drop a seat doesn't come loose on you. I'm going to buy some aircraft paint remover stuff and get some of this black paint off of it. Try to get it back down to the original casting. Look like somebody's painted that. I don't think that came from the factory like that, but considering it's just flaking off. So we'll get the block cleaned up. I'm going to get these wrist pins to work, mill them, get them where they need to be, and then hopefully in the next couple of days we'll have a rotating assembly. I know the cam's good. I should have everything to get this engine together. I'm going to go ahead and reuse on my CP Miller. I've got the heads on them. I know them are good heads, and the reason why I want to run them is because the heads that came on this one, it's completely flat right here, which, you know, everybody's like, oh, we'll mill that down. Well, you don't want to mill on a flathead. You don't want to raise the compression on a flathead, because you'll actually increase the heat. It makes a lot more heat. And they just don't like high compression. On the other heads, there's actually, where the gasket goes, there's a raised ledge all the way around. And that will give me obviously less compression, but what you're also gaining is what they call static compression. You're getting more air volume in there and compressing more air volume, which will, for the most part, I think equals out to better compression, but it's still a lower compression. So those are the heads I'm going to run. I was starting to clean these up, and I'm like, you know what, I've got that other engine that's got the better set of heads on it, and that's what I'm going to run. So in the next video I'll show you the difference. I'll compare the difference in the heads. But that's all I've got so far on this. So far I'm going to like I said, get the wrist pins milled. We'll get this thing as a rotating assembly in the next couple of days and get moving along on this. I've got to get this engine put together pretty quick, so I should have at least 1 or 2 more videos up on this by this time next week. So hopefully we can have the motor actually put together, and I don't know if I'll be able to start it by next weekend. I've got my fingers crossed, but we will do the best we can, and you guys stay tuned. Don't forget, you guys can also follow me on Facebook. I'm on there somewhere. If you guys have any questions, shoot me up on there, like always. So, like I said, don't mind the desk. It'll be all cleaned off, and everything will be all nice and spiffy and clean before I start putting this engine together. I know how you engine builders are. You guys got everything everywhere, so... like I said, thanks for watching, and stay tuned. Bye.